to Dark Alignment. Hello. I am Brittney.
And I'm Amy, also Eruca on Instagram and YouTube.
Yes, I am at Britt_Oakley on Instagram. So if you don't follow us, check us out.
You can follow the Dark Alignment Instagram as well. Hopefully you're already subscribed to the YouTube.
Why would you not be following us on Instagram? It's at Dark Alignment. Get on there and click the button. I don't know what color it is. I was going to say the blue button, but I don't think it's blue.
No, maybe. The follow back button is blue, I think.
Why don't you go look at it and follow us and tell us what color the button is?
Please, yeah.
Oh, because we're on episode 7. It's hard to believe that we're already here. Happy Witchtober for all you witch enthusiasts or witches or want to be witches like me or witchy witches.
Get a crystal in here.
And also,
this is dog's tooth calcium.
Dog's tooth calcium.
It's kind of cool.
That's really pretty. Yay! Because we don't have any crystals on the table.
There we go. We can't
do it without
crystals on the table. Okay, go ahead.
So, last time we were here, we covered the Ken and Barbie killers, Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka. It was a horrific story, but also just kind of fascinating. And when killers look like everybody else, I think it's a little bit scarier than somebody creeping on the block who you know to be afraid of. So, interesting story. Also, coming out day.
Yeah, coming out day this week.
Coming out day on the 10th of October. Woo! So, wishing you all a wonderful coming out day. Hooray.
Hooray.
And, yes, back to...
And spooky season.
Oh,
yeah, Witchtober you already said that. But.
Yes, so the next... Plus this episode, the next 2, we're doing very much theme-based episodes.
Like real creepy, extra creeps.
Creepy. This week... The episode has to do a lot with coming out day, so we are doing an LGBTQ episode. Yay! And also, this is heavily based all around one of my favorite things, which is costumes and dressing up. So
she's going to the Halloween store right after this.
Oh.
Just to tell you.
I really am. Like, going on a date with my wife to the Halloween store tonight. So
it's just, you gotta go.
I mean, what else are you going to do? There's costumes, and I need them to go in my giant costume trunk for all year round. So there's a lot of costumes and dressing up and wild, extravagant things. If you haven't figured out kind of what story I'm talking about, we are doing the party monster himself, Mr. Michael ALIG.
Crazy.
So, for those of you who haven't heard of the movie, it is my all-time favorite movie and has been for years and years. It is called Party Monster. It stars Macaulay Culkin, who plays Michael ALIG, and Seth Green. Wow. Love him. He plays James St. James, which is Michael's best friend and kind of like his mentor in the early days. And James St. James also wrote a book about the entire thing. And it is called Disco Bloodbath, which I also own a copy of. Yes, I own a copy of that. So it's like his memoir of all the time of being a club kid in New York in the 80s and 90s. Damn. So that's where this story takes place.
Okay.
I guess you want to get
into it?
Should we get into it? So I already kind of talked about what you might have heard about Michael from, and that is because he was a club kid. He was deemed the king of the club kids. So it was a real cultural phenomenon during the 1980s and 90s. So, trigger warning. Almost forgot to do the trigger warning.
There's always a trigger warning. Okay.
Very important. We're going to talk about some graphic shit. This murder that takes place is very graphic, and a lot of the other... just talking about some of the things that Michael did in his daily life could be considered a little bit graphic depending on your level of comfort. So, mature audiences only. Please be advised,
Be advised.
Okay, so, Michael was born on April 29th, 1966. He was born and raised in South Bend, Indiana. He has a brother. He's the second of the 2 children. His mother, actually, this is a fun fact about her. She is a native from, oh my gosh, don't hate me because I don't know how to pronounce this, Bremerhaven, Germany.
Oh.
Did I do okay? Let me know. And she moved to the United States after marrying Michael's father, who was a computer programmer.
Okay.
But the couple divorced when Michael was only 4. So his mom has a super strong accent. She's very German, blonde. She's super cute. I've seen lots of interviews with her. So Michael was a straight A student, actually. He was very intelligent, at the top 8% of his class when he graduated. But during his teenage years, he was bullied a lot for being gay. Like most of us who are queer people do end up getting bullied at some point in our lives, unfortunately. And Michael just really wanted to get out of the small conservative Indiana town that he lived in. And who could fucking blame him? I did the same thing. Right. Couldn't wait to get out of that shithole.
Like,
so
bye.
Bye as fuck. I can totally empathize with that. So after he graduated in 1984, he attended college in New York City on a scholarship. He was studying architecture. And then he ended up, like, once he got to New York and kind of started feeling fabulous as fuck, he transferred to the Fashion Institute of Technology. So that's actually how he got introduced to the New York City nightlife and that whole scene. And he ended up loving the nightlife so much that he actually dropped out of school and wanted to get into the club scene. So he started as a busboy. He was willing to start literally at the bottom, just to be, he wanted to really make a name for himself on the club scene. And he really did. So this next section, inspired by the movie Party Monster, is called A Place to Play. So, Michael was just all about the club scene once he got to be a part of it. And he loved that it was a place for, like, all the outcasts and the misfits to just, like, have fun and belong. And you could be a freak and it was okay. And everybody accepted you. And it was just, it was kind of like, the culture was really beautiful. It was a really, like, underground gay scene and gay community that was really supportive, especially during that time.
Back then it was, like, a big deal, right?
It was during, like, the AIDS epidemic. And, people were really stigmatized, and there was just this subculture of people that were kind of like living this fabulous life underground, and Michael really wanted to be a part of that. He fully immersed himself, and he became a club promoter for the infamous Peter Gation at the club Limelight, which Limelight was actually an old cathedral, so it was really beautiful with, like, stained glass windows, and it was really gorgeous. I've seen a lot of pictures of it.
If you haven't had a party in a sanctuary, I mean, it's just...
I mean, I haven't, and I apparently need to.
I've had a few drinks in a sanctuary for, like, a yoga festival, because, like, it rained. It was me outdoor party, and then it rained, and we had it indoors, and that was the building that was free.
Okay, that's
It wasn't
cool.
Like the prettiest one, but it was, like, it was their pews and stuff. It was kind of cool.
That's pretty cool. That sounds like fun. I love it. I'm not a drinker, but that really does sound like a good time.
Yeah, I'm not really anymore.
So among the people that were on the club scene at this time, just to kind of let you know how fucking huge and important it was to gay culture, fucking RuPaul partied there and partied with Michael, was part of all of it. And Michael saw himself as the next Andy Warhol. That was kind of his goal. That was who he wanted to be. And he was famous for throwing these, they called them outlaw parties, which is just really funny. And he did it at random public places before the cops would bust them. So they would just show up at all these random places in New York City, like restaurants and the subways, and they'd show up in full fucking costume. I'm talking like face paint and extravagant costumes, giant chicken costumes. Just, it was insane. They would wear the craziest outfits.
I love. You could do it at a festival.
You will love the movie Party Monster. I'm going to make you watch it because it does a kind of a portrayal of what the type of costumes they wore.
I'm really interested.
Oh my god, it's so fabulous.
Google it, guys. Google it.
Yes, please Google it. I love Seth Green as James St. James when he is the troll. It is fucking fabulous. It's that's probably my favorite costume of the movie. So he would throw these wild parties, and one he actually took over a Burger King, and they would just it would just fill up with a ton of fucking club kids, and they would all start doing drugs and playing music, and just like the people working would get an order for like 500 hamburgers, and Michael would like throw them out to everybody. Is wild.
That is crazy.
So one of the other places was like Dunkin' Donuts, abandoned houses. I already mentioned the Subway, but like it helped revitalize the downtown New York City club scene back then, where it was kind of starting to be run down and neglected, and everything kind of started being like a place to go, and things were happening.
To party, come on.
Yes, party. One of the most infamous places where I think you can still see the interviews of this if you like YouTube it, but he actually appeared on an episode of Donahue with all his club kid crew. Dang. And RuPaul was fucking there, like, on the episode with him. So they were just there, like, talking about the club kid movement, and it's amazing. He had become quite a celebrity at this point, and he absolutely loved it. Like, that was what he wanted. Mm-hmm. And now, so that was, like, the glory times. So we're about to get dark. That was, like, fun, happy party. We're having a great time. It's
maybe
like
a little escapism.
Yeah. We're having a really good fucking time. Shit's about to not be fun. So I'm going to start the next section with my favorite quote from the movie Party Monster.
Okay.
I'm not addicted to drugs. I'm addicted to glamour. It's my favorite line. Okay.
Like the glamour is the drugs, or like he literally doesn't take drugs, you think?
So that's a really good point, actually, because Michael starting out was not a drug user.
Oh, okay.
That's you like segued right into that, like completely naturally. That's amazing.
Oh, just so great.
So he really was not like into using or anything when he first started. He was only wanting the fame and the notoriety and to be a club promoter. When he starts getting into the drugs is when shit fucking goes wrong. You know, like he just wanted to be creative and well liked, and now he's a hardcore drug addict. You know, after a little on the scene, he was doing a fuck ton of like heroin, ketamine, ecstasy, and cocaine, and smoking crack, all of this on a really regular basis. He had several drug arrests. He had several overdoses and several stints in rehab. But the behavior just continued. He, was still on that scene, and at that point in time, it was part of his life. He was a full-blown addict. The themes of his parties were starting to get more intense as he...
you gotta step it up, man.
Right. Also, the drug use was starting to, like, really influence kind of how far he'd go and kind of his boundaries with it. Most of the parties were still taking place at Limelight. He was their lead promoter. And some of them were kind of funny. He was known for behaving badly, like being a bad boy and always causing trouble like a kid. People... talked about him like a kid that liked to play jokes on everybody. His jokes were really fucking mean, like humiliating. Like he went too far. But he would have these like pee parties and like really weird stuff like that. Not that that's weird. I'm not gonna shame anyone.
I personally am not about it.
I personally am not gonna attend a pee party.
That's all I'm trying to say.
But if you're into it, like I'm not gonna shame anybody for what they're into. But that was like a theme of a party that he had.
Okay. I mean, that is definitely a step up from,
And then his most like notorious one was the Blood Feast, where he had like body parts, like they weren't real, but body parts laying around, like legs cut off, and it was very like gory and morbid. And so his kind of drug use, he was going into some darker places with his thoughts and everything. Yeah. And one time after an overdose, this is a true story, I saw in a documentary from one person who used to party with him, a fellow club kid, said this, I can't remember which one said this story, but one time Michael had an overdose and there was a party that night, and he like just left the hospital with the IV, like still hooked up to the IV.
I hate when they do that in movies and they rip their arm. He just left it in.
He left it in, he took the whole thing and made it part of his costume.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah, he made it part of his fucking costume. They do show a little bit of that on the movie Party Monster. That's scary,
because what if he had, like, worked up an air bubble in there? Like, I don't know if
he gave 0 fucks. It
freaks me out.
It was more like reaction from people that he was interested in making it shocking. Always shocking people. So... that was one of his things that he did, just made it part of his costume.
Oh my god.
He would throw $100 bills on crowded dance floors just to watch people like scramble for it. He loved to cause trouble and chaos. He would actually pee on people on a regular basis. That was something that he thought was funny, and he would pee in their drinks.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. Gotcha. Peed in your Sprite or whatever. So he was just really over the top, and finally Peter Gatien ended up firing him from Limelight because the drug use was just out of control, and rehab wasn't helping, nothing was helping. So in 1995 he finds himself no longer employed as the club promoter. Okay. So now we're going to, this is definitely trigger warning territory right here, because we're going to talk about Angel. So if you're familiar with the story, it makes me want to cry. Like you will know, about Angel. So in the movie Party Monster, not Angel, dang it, I can't remember who plays Angel. I was thinking of Keoki. I didn't talk about this, but one of the famous DJs, Keoki, was Michael Alig's boyfriend. And he was played by Wilmer Valderrama in the movie. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Oh, okay.
So Fez from that 70s show is in it.
Oh, I remember you saying that he was in it.
Yes. For a split second, I thought he played Angel. I'm so sorry, everyone. That is not true. I caught myself before I spread those lies.
Oh, my God.
I do not remember the actor's name. But Andre Angel Melendez was a regular on the New York City club scene. And he even worked at Limelight for a little while, where he sold drugs on the premises. So he was known as being a drug dealer. He got his nickname because he always wore these gigantic angel wings. So they were beautiful. Giant. Always wore them. Wow. So he was very distinctive. You could see him from a mile away. Probably not a good plan for if you're a drug dealer. It's kind of like, I'm that guy. I'm the one in the angel wings. But anyway, that's how he got his name. His friends and family said that he did not use drugs, actually, that he was dealing to make money, and also he wanted to be part of the night scene and really wanted to be accepted and well liked.
Yeah.
So Michael never liked him, though. That was one of the things. Like, Michael always kind of shunned him and rejected him and referred to him as like a wannabe. Just wasn't very nice to him, but Angel gave him a lot of free drugs, so Michael saw him as somebody who was useful to have around. So very much like, this relationship benefits me even though I don't give a shit about you. I'm going to keep you around and kind of milk you dry. And that's the kind of person that Michael was. So that was this relationship. And then after Limelight closed, federal agents started investigating it about the drug use and looking into Peter Gatien. So Angel was had to be fired, of course, from Limelight too, because the heat was on. And then shortly after that, Angel moves into Michael's New York City apartment. So let me just explain what this apartment was like. So you're talking about 7 junkies, all living in a fucking rundown apartment.
Yeah.
So it's pretty gross, pretty poor living conditions. A lot of fucking people to be in a place, especially when there's a lot of heavy drug use going on.
Yeah.
So you can just imagine
and everyone's hyped up. It's just.
Well, they're using a lot of heroin, so it's not necessarily that they're hyped up. People are getting sick. People are when you can't. You've got that hardcore dope sickness.
Gotcha.
It's a pretty sad state of affairs. And of course, with Angel being a drug dealer, he's kind of got a lot of power in the household, essentially. But also Michael is really abusing his power as it being his apartment. So things kind of come to a head after there's tension between them. There always has been. And on the night of, this is wild, but March 17th, which is the day after my birthday, it's the day that John Wayne Gacy was born. All these things keep happening right around.
Is that St. Patrick's Day?
Yes. It's also St. Patrick's Day. That's a big day.
Biggin.
So on March 17th, 1996, Michael, And one of his roommates, who is portrayed in the movie Party Monster, he's one of the main characters, Freeze, Robert Riggs, they actually got into a scuffle with Angel.
Ooh.
Supposedly there's an argument, and Angel started choking Michael. And
what?
Yes, apparently there was a struggle and a fight over money, and Michael being accused of stealing Angel's stash of drugs. So it was all drug and money related. Well, during all of this chaos, Freeze ended up hitting Angel over the head 3 times with a hammer.
Whoa.
So once that happened, Michael apparently tried to smother him with a pillow at that point. But Michael claims many times that he was really high on drugs, and his memory of the events is unclear. So there's a discrepancy between how they portrayed it in the movie, what was written in Disco Bloodbath, what really happened, the witness accounts. There's a lot up in the air. There's a lot of speculation about what happened. Some things can't be disputed. That's the 3 times hit with the hammer. Definitely. And then whenever Angel ends up dying, this is where more trigger warning, everyone.
Layers of trigger warnings, right?
Yeah. So Freeze and Michael don't know what to do with his body.
Okay.
The first thing they do is put him in the bathtub. It's never
They're not
good.
gonna cut him, are they? They're gonna cut it up.
So they fill it with ice.
Okay.
And this is the part where there are 2 versions. So there's a version from Freeze, who witnessed it, and then Michael denies some of this.
Okay.
But Freeze said when he left the room, walked back in the room, and Michael was pouring Drano down Angel's throat, and that he was also injected with Drano. It's hard to even say this.
Wow.
The
so
Drano
injection. Trying
injection.
to embalm him, kind of?
The Drano injection was actually shown in the movie Party Monster, too.
Okay.
So they did show that part. Whether or not the injection happened, that's what's disputed. There is no disputing that Drano was poured into his mouth because Freeze helped Michael put tape over the mouth of Angel at that point in time. So then after that, they stripped him naked, and they left him in the bathtub. So a few days later, of course, the body starts to decompose, and there's a smell associated with decomposition. But Michael is telling people it was just the plumbing. So there's a fuck ton of people living here, and there is a dead body in the bathtub. So that's where it's like, holy shit. But of course, everybody's so fucked up on drugs. I don't know. I can't even imagine.
It'd be, yeah.
So they kept discussing what to do with his body, and finally they came up with a solution. And Freeze went to Macy's and bought a box of kitchen knives. In exchange for 10 bags of heroin, Michael agreed to dismember the body.
Oh!
So you were on track there, too.
If you're wanting to get your drugs, I mean, sounds like a good deal.
Michael cut his legs off, put them each in separate garbage bags, and then in a separate bag, which was supposedly a duffel bag, put the rest of him in there. And then the remaining pieces of the body were put in a giant box and duct taped.
Wow.
And all of this was dumped in the Hudson River. But they did not... Okay, so they wrapped this box tightly. I've seen pictures of the box. They wrapped it tightly in, duct tape. So it's kind of insulated. They did not think to put holes in it.
So it would sink.
So it floated across the top of the water. Oh my God. And it really, because of that, didn't take long for it to wash up on shore. So it was found by a group of children that were playing.
Wow.
Which is super fucked up. The body was really badly decomposed, and of course it was dismembered, so the police actually thought the victim was Marshallese. Angel was Colombian.
Oh.
So the connection was not made. They thought they had just an unidentified body of a John Doe, and they had no idea who it was. So, that was rough, you guys. We're getting past it. We're gonna go ahead and okay, that was hard. And I've seen this story a million times. It's just I've never had to tell it to anyone. It's hard.
It's a lot.
It's hard to talk about. This next section is called A Real Gossip Girl. So in the weeks after Angel's disappearance, Michael was telling anyone who would listen to him that Freeze and he had killed Angel. So most people didn't believe Michael, and they thought that this confession was just one of his ways of getting attention, because he loved attention.
Wow. And he would do shocking things, and who knows what he's going to say.
Right. He would say shit all the time, and people were just like, okay. Like, it just seemed beyond their wildest dreams. And there was a lot of drug use going on, too, so nobody was really wanting to go talk to the cops. And even if they did, like, nobody wanted to be the one to turn on Michael.
Yeah.
So soon, the claims, along with the disappearance of Angel, were, like, all up in the rumor mill. Michael went to rehab again for drugs, and at that point, the rumors were reported on in this little magazine called The Village Voice.
Okay.
So it's like a Club Kid alternative style, like, weekly newsletter. So they had, like, a subculture following. And even though nobody's names were used, it recounted every single detail of the murder.
Whoa.
So over the next few weeks, the Village Voice continued to, like, report on it, make accusations of the murder, but the cops still were not concerned about the disappearance of a marginalized drug dealer. So because of their lifestyle, being the LGBT community, and also, you know, not being a white person, they were not concerned. And
right.
It's really fucking sad, because his family was really, really trying to find him, and they reported him missing, and he did have a family who loved him, and it just really sucks. I feel like things have gotten better. There's still a lot of work to do in that area as far as criminal justice goes, and paying attention to crimes with marginalized victims. I could go on for a long time about that, but so that's something I'm passionate about advocating for. You can definitely find more about it online and find ways to support. Anyway.
No, you're good. I'm just taking notes. Man.
Yeah.
I got lots of notes to take.
So that whole thing happened in March. In November of the same year. So several months. Yay, November. That's a long time, though.
I'm
March.
born in November.
Yes. And I'm born in March.
How can I make it about me right now?
I love what you're doing.
Love it. Love it.
So there's several months go by.
Okay.
A lot of months go by. And the coroner finally reported that the body could be identified as Angel Melendez. So police at this point, now that they had him identified and knew, you know, he had passed away and that it was a homicide, Michael was the first suspect. They were already investigating Limelight at the time for all the drugs, and Michael kind of fell into that. Him and Freeze were both arrested for the murder, and that's when Freeze gave the full confession that I was talking about earlier. So, just for reference, at this point in time, Michael is 30 years old.
Okay.
This next section is called Prison Party.
Prison Party.
So Michael claimed that he killed Angel in self-defense, and that he helped dispose of the body in a panic. Okay. Even though it was clearly very premeditated. But prosecutors were hesitant to charge Michael with first-degree murder because they still wanted him to testify in their drug shit, War Against Drugs, against Peter Gatien. Mm-hmm. And he had been arrested for allowing drugs to be sold in his nightclubs. Okay. And, like, it's so amazing to me that, like, the war on drugs, this is 1996, which wasn't that fucking long ago, that they are more concerned with drugs than they were with the murder of a fucking human. So
the drug war.
Yeah, I have a real
the war on drugs.
Oh my god, it sucks. Like, anyway, that's a whole other rant. I'm ranty today. I'm so sorry, you guys. It's raining here, and I'm gonna blame that.
It's time to rant. It's raining. It's rant time.
This is Rant Corner, where I talk about marginalized victims not getting attention.
It'd be a great series, like really a mini series to do.
Patreon people, if you'd like to hear Rant Corner, well, I could definitely rant for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you could too.
Yeah, for sure.
A number of things. So, oh my god.
We're here and we're mad.
We're here and we're pissed off. I'm here and I'm queer and I'm pissed. Let's talk about it. But after all of that, they eventually offered both Michael and Freeze a plea deal. So they got a sentence of 10 to 20 years if they accepted the lesser charge of manslaughter.
Okay.
And then on October 1st, 1997, they both pled guilty and were sentenced to that 10 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. So Michael talks about this. He talks about like how he told everyone about it. And he says, I must have wanted someone to stop me. I was spinning out of control. It's like the old saying, what do you have to do to get attention around here? Kill somebody? So some of Michael's behavior could be explained by personality disorder. Mm-hmm. He has been reportedly diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder. And we talked about this in the Diane Downs episode in episode 5.
That's interesting.
She had the same diagnosis. But just as a reminder, histrionic disorder is characterized by severe attention seeking. Mm-hmm. And these are typically people who are lively, dramatic, vivacious, enthusiastic, and somewhat flirtatious. So people tend to like them. So that fit in well with Michael's personality. He definitely was all of those things, kind of to a severe degree, actually. So I'm sure his chart is going to be fucking fun. I'm excited.
I'm excited to tell you about it.
So
stick around.
Stick around. So we're getting to the end of the story here, but Michael was transferred to a few different prisons. He spent time in a psychiatric unit, but he was released on parole on May 5th, 2014. Cinco de Mayo. We had a conversation about Cinco de Mayo earlier. At 48 years old. So, what he doing?
Go ahead.
I have watched a documentary, actually, of Michael getting out of prison. And he missed basically every bit of technology that came out. So that was it was amazing to see, like, most of the episode was him learning how to use a cell phone. Cell phones weren't around.
That's kind of great.
Just kind of like watching him learn everything. And he watched the movie Party Monster and he was so fucking underwhelmed with Macaulay Culkin. And he was like, that didn't happen, which is hilarious. So anyway, per Michael's parole conditions, he went back to New York City when he got out of prison. He had an 8 p.m. curfew. He had to do drug and anger management counseling and job readiness training. He did lots of interviews like the one I just talked about, where he expressed a desire to star in his own reality show. And he wanted to stage an exhibition of his artwork in New York. And then in May 2014, there were reports of Michael trying to sell some of his memoirs. He was pursuing a career as like a magazine writer. He actually hosted, this is great, you're going to love this. He hosted a YouTube comedy talk show entitled The PU with fellow club kid Ernie Glam. And then, I have not listened to this, we have to fucking find this. He released a pop song called What's In with his ex-boyfriend DJ Kioki. So, what the fuck?
Oh my god.
He actually did end up getting his art displayed in an exhibit in New York.
Okay.
So that's all fucking going good for him. But the last known report, things are kind of sliding. I know. We were on a high. There's so many highs and lows of this story. And we're going to...
what his chart looks like.
We're going to end on a low note here because... On Thursday, February 2nd, 2017, Michael was arrested for trespassing and smoking crystal meth in a park outside of the Bronx.
Meth, man.
At approximately 1:30 in the morning, and police reportedly found a bag of crystal meth, a pipe with residue from the drug in his jacket pocket. So it's pretty hard to be like, it's not mine, bro. It's in your pocket. So, and... the New York Daily News reported that Michael was arraigned on the drug possession and trespassing charges, and he pled guilty in exchange for conditional discharge. So that's his final hurrah as of now. Stay tuned, though, because...
How old would he be now?
He's
more than like 66.
He is 53 years old.
Oh, there you go.
I had it, yes. 53. I came prepared for this one.
He's got some time left to hopefully redeem himself.
Probably do more messy things. I definitely feel like he's going to continue to try to be in the public eye, though. That's a big part of who he is and at his core. And
he needs to get some help, though.
He does.
Yeah.
Look, I just want to know that I
right
fucking killed it in exactly 30 minutes. Okay.
All right.
Okay. We are ready to chart.
Let's get into the
shit up.
Man. Well, we got one chart today. Single chart day.
Singular chart day.
I took like hella notes.
Oh, fuck.
I know.
Look at all those Post-its.
There's a bunch here. All right, here we go. Are we ready? Here we go. Charts.
Okay.
It's party tones. See it? Okay.
I'm so happy. Okay.
When you just don't think about anything you're doing, things happen like that.
It just flows.
It just flows.
How it's supposed to.
Okay. We're looking at Michael ALIG. He is a Taurus.
Wow, that blows me away.
He's not a regular Taurus.
No, he's not.
His moon is in Leo. It is cusping Virgo.
Oh my gosh, of course there's Leo involved in this.
Yeah, okay, I was like, especially these Leo moons, like they want to express what they're feeling, like. And then we don't have an ascendant because there's no birth time, but I got lots of conjunctions and stelliums here. Okay. So first of all these like party vibes, I was thinking, maybe I'd start with that.
I need to quit partying.
No, you're good. Just keep. I think it's probably very entertaining for the people listening.
Me knocking
Get
stuff.
Get a beat for this. Let's see. So with the Leo moon, obviously we've got that's a little bit of this histrionic trait.
Okay.
Leo placements are common with like if we're going to get into the whole like relationships between charts and mental issues, and we're
just some slight correlations.
If we're finding some correlations there, Leo will more often come up with histrionic personality disorder, and especially if that's his moon, that's who he feels is like his inner self, you know. So
yeah.
Really, when you're coming into a place where you're trying to empower yourself and be who you really are, you're kind of like trying to pull that inner self out. Like here, you know, it's kind of like exaggerating it a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you felt like you couldn't be yourself for a long time, then you felt like a place that were comfortable. I mean, I could really see that Leo moon just going crazy. And then we also have a Pisces stellium on top of this.
Pisces!
And Pisces is awesome. I love Pisces.
Yay!
But also, there's Chiron here, there's Saturn here.
Okay.
Those are both difficult placements, and having them conjunct, oh my god.
Okay, so that's your trauma next to the thing that makes things harder.
It does make things harder, yeah.
Am I learning? I'm really trying, you guys.
Like, Saturn wants you disciplined, it wants you structured, it wants you working hard to blah, blah, blah. And having your trauma related to that, that's really rough. And Venus is conjunct right there, too. So this is all relating to how he relates to people, other people, how he cares about things. My dog. It's not a bird, it's my dog.
It sounds like Mariah Carey or a bird. Jew.
So then also there is his palace, and that is your like sense of deep wisdom. It's another like practical placement. It's really trying to think about like this deeper sense of knowing and through your experiences through life and trying to be practical about things, like
okay, really, level-headed,
really trying. But I mean, it can definitely be a stressor if you're trying to be self-expressive and live in the moment and things. You know,
that conflicts with
and then it can also show like decision making can be affected here. There's a lot of trauma and stress about making decisions, likely. And it's in Pisces too. Pisces is not known for being the most decisive sign. That and Libra.
Decisions are hard, and I'm in both of those. My sun is in Pisces and my moon is in Libra. I'm fucked.
You're just like, I mean, they really want to feel things out, you know. And if something, you know, if the energy shifts on a dime, you know, Pisces might change their decision, you know, just like because I get it. Totally. So then all that situation there can really create a lot of escapism with their Pisces. And this causes a lot of problems with like drugs and addictions and alcohol. And if you want to, if you have a lot of Pisces in your chart, you're going to tend towards escapism in some way, but you want to find a healthy escape. Like, I don't know, like reading a book. Or
I mean,
like,
for me, it's dance. I don't know if I probably talked about this before, but I struggled with addiction. I'm 7 years alcohol free. I'm 13 years no longer being a hardcore junkie like I was in my very early 20s. And I was definitely trying to numb out and escape everything. Yeah. So I related. I think that's why I've always really loved the movie Party Monsters, because I really did relate to feeling like a freak and wanting to like run away and wanting to not feel and wanting to just like play and express and have fun. And now without substances, I've found that escape, and I really do find it through dance. I find it through physical movement of all kinds. I find it through yoga. I find it through music and singing and creating. And I feel like hopefully Michael can do a lot of that, because we have similar energies, I think, in a lot of those ways.
It's really, there is opportunity for him to better himself, and I'll get to that in a bit.
Stay off that crystal meth. It does nobody any good.
It's kind of funny because when I had my birthday party like a year or two ago, I think it was maybe a couple years ago, I was drinking, but like not everybody at my party was drinking because some people had quit. And one of my friends from college showed up and they're like, "Why isn't everybody drinking?" And I was like, some of these people don't drink." And he goes, "I can't actually remember who it is, but I think it was a dude."
What?
And he said, "Oh, those prudes." And I was like, no, these aren't like 20-year-olds. Like, these are people who have lived their life and decided to quit drinking. He's like, oh.
People have a hard time understanding, like, how do you have fun without alcohol? And for me, it's like, I have more fun than ever because I'm in control of my body. I'm in control of myself. And I can remember what happened, and I'm not blackout Brittney on autopilot fucking around, like being an idiot. God,
like, man, you don't get it. Like, I think he was, like, stuck in this, like, early college world type of mind, like
gross.
Like it's the people who are afraid of drinking that aren't drinking, but that's not really the case now that we're like adults.
Sorry, D-bag, we tried it. We decided it wasn't for us, or some of us can't handle it. So
it's like a lot. All right,
cool. Just don't judge me.
I can't even remember who it was.
Rant corner.
That got me. Oh my god.
We've had 3 rants now.
We could do some more. I think we could really.
I've got like 4 more.
A long time.
Okay.
This is our new series.
That's amazing.
Okay. Anyway, it's great that we're expressing. It's just Leo Moon energy, coming through.
I'm loving whatever this is.
All right. Also, in Leo Moon, we're looking at like. Kind of the drama performance aspect. And that's going to be a lot of these, like, party costume things that he's really trying to, like, woo, and maybe escaping through characters. We got Neptune conjunct the South Node in Scorpio, retrograde. And Neptune is more Pisces energy. That's what rules Pisces. Neptune is, like, illusions and, like, this dreamy world, and having that conjunct your South Node, it's kind of your comfort zone in a way, like having this kind of like illusion type of idea, but also since it's on your South Node, it's not serving him. Right. So when he plays into his South Node, it ultimately will cause him issues, because it's like you're an actor in this life. You've been given a role. You're comfortable with your South Node role, but nobody wants to see you do that anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, you can use the strengths from that role and play into your North Node, which is the character people want to see you in next. It's like moving on through your life path, but, like, you can't just, like, keep playing the same.
And also, just to bring up
cast type.
During that time, Michael was 30 years old. I think that has a lot to do with it. Is like where this whole, it's not cute anymore. Like, you need to kind of start to grow up. And he continued to kind of regress and stay in this like playfulness, childlike, playing pranks kind of a state of like with a sense of immaturity.
Oh, yeah.
So that sounds like it kind of plays into that. It's what it makes me think of in my head.
For sure it does. He has a lot of stuff on his chart that shows that he's really, like, one of the themes here, it's like he keeps causing his own problems. It's like an episode of Seinfeld for me. It's I know I made that joke before. But it's kind of like he keeps tripping over himself. He's got a lot of placements that have good aspects and bad aspects, and You can use your personal energy in this life in a healthy way or an unhealthy way. You know, like it's ultimately up to you how you use the energy you've been given, and how you develop it. And he has not chosen the healthiest things, and I can see how it'd be easy for him to fall into that pattern, especially once you establish that pattern.
It's so interesting because, like, after he got out of prison, like we talked about, he started going on like a good way where he's like putting that energy into art and music and creating and doing a show and like doing all these creative things. And then he's like, and some meth. Like, you know, like it's just still that other form of escape that can pull you back.
It's going to be hard for him to pull away from that.
Yeah.
There is definitely a possibility he could do that.
It does show that he's capable of harnessing it into something positive, like creative, and
and I just pulled it up while we're on it because
we're watching that fucking music video later. I have to see it.
I really want to see it too.
I didn't look it up beforehand because I was like, I feel like we should watch this together.
Yeah, I will have to watch it after this.
Okay.
So also here, with Kevin having like his best shot, or do I want to talk about that last? Because that's like a positive note.
Okay, yeah, we'll end it on a high note.
You like to end on a high note. Okay.
Or a really gorgeous low note.
Tragic.
I did a singing competition once, and I ended the song with like a really deep low note, and I got so much amazing feedback from the judges saying like nobody ever ends on a low note like that, and they were like, that was a really bold move, and it was gorgeous, and it landed, and I was like, yes. So that's coming from a very positive place, but a literal low note that made a huge impact.
I wish that was like a common saying now. Okay.
Changing the connotation here on Dark Alignment.
Okay. And then let's see. Another thing that is kind of playing into his party thing, his party vibe, his Jupiter's in Gemini. Jupiter, Gemini. Whoa. And Gemini, you know, they really like to keep things fresh. They want to like keep things moving. They're kind of quick paced, multitasking energy. It's like they're in the present moment, but they're always thinking about what's next. Like they're able to be present and have fun, but then they're able to plan what's next, and that can be a really good skill in certain situations. But cool. And in party life, maybe that would definitely serve him. Like because Jupiter is like that energy is expanded on your chart. It's not your identity necessarily. It's part of your identity, but it's not like your sun or your moon. It's kind of like this just wherever that hits on your chart, it's just going to be more of that. It's like a little extra flavor, you know, put in there. A lot of spice, a lot of Gemini spice was added into his personality.
Like this analogy.
Oh my god. Oh god. The longer we do this podcast, the more like weird analogies I'm coming up with.
I'm really loving it though because it paints a picture for me of like. And then also, I'm going to think of the Spice Girls, which, how could I not? You know that's what my brain...
making curry.
I thought of, what is that, the anise? How do you... Anise
star?
Anise, yeah. Is that what that's... how do you say that? Anise or anise?
I think it's anise.
Correct us if we're wrong. I'm going to say anise, because, I don't know. It's just the first one.
You say it how you want.
I say it how I want, but tell me...
Anise.
Anise. That's the winner.
Oh, God.
Settled on it.
All right. So next there, I put I made some fun category names like you do.
Ooh, I love it.
Well, this is really the only one actually. I called it ending the party.
Oh, you're getting pun-tastic.
So he is a Taurus. He has a Taurus stellium. He's got a lot of Taurus energy. His north node is Taurus. He's got Ceres, Mars, and the Sun in Taurus conjunct on top of each other. So him having Mars on top of his Sun kind of puts this Aries type of vibe on him, where he's a little more combative, a little more like aggressive, a little more childlike, a little more. What am I thinking? Like fiery, like more daring.
And less inhibition.
Yeah, and he's kind of got this thing of his self-worth. You know, Taurus is already kind of into their self-worth, and they look for people who know their self-worth. You know, one of the biggest like pet peeves for Taurus, if they're looking to date somebody, is somebody who doesn't know their self-worth.
Oh.
Like someone who doesn't act like they're worth something.
Oh,
like that
that
could bug a Taurus. Or someone with a lot of Taurus energy or something.
Okay. No room for low self-esteem in Taurus land.
It's just not tolerated as well.
Yeah.
Because they have it more naturally.
Okay.
And then with Ceres there, it's kind of like that foundation for love is himself.
Self-love. That is the true foundation for all of us.
And so that's just really interesting. Like if you see Vesta conjunct the sun, it creates this thing where you're really devoted to yourself, and you kind of you're always like you're more of a top priority. Like one of your top priorities is always yourself when you have Vesta there. It's when you have Juno there, you're really committed to yourself, and you really want to make things work with yourself, and going through all of these like asteroids. With Ceres, it's like you are like how you see love. Like you are just it's like
that sounds
you can almost. I think there's probably a thing where you could probably fulfill your own sort of foundation for love. Like, I mean,
that's kind of beautiful, but it's also kind of scary on one. Depends on how it manifests in a person. But that can be like kind of
and with
beautiful
the Mars there,
and
there's
kind of
that
scary.
like fiery thing, and then it's just like the Taurus trying to be grounded, and Taurus can be kind of bougie too.
I mean,
you got
fabulousness was a big priority in this circle.
His Taurus side probably like that, especially the Leo moon. Oh my god. So his focuses are going to be like they're kind of leaning towards the Taurus side, which is less party, really. Like Taurus is not as party fun like Leo and Gemini and Pisces. So there's a part of him that probably isn't like all about the parties. There's a side of him that's like not all about parties, but he does like it's almost like he wants this type of comfort, and maybe he finds comfort through certain friends at the party. I don't know.
Right.
But I could see him living a more like homebody life at some point.
Okay.
If he can get himself put together.
Right.
And then, especially with the North Node in Taurus, it shows kind of like his past being this more intense Scorpio, causing yourself problems with these illusions and and then moving away from that crazy feeling to a more stable place.
Okay.
In Taurus. So, what else did I put here? And then he's got this Juno sextile and trine going on. He's got a lot of good aspects to his Juno placement. So if he found like a healthy partner to be like married to, like that would probably work out well for him and help him be more stable, and healthy. I know. I think I said healthy like 5 times.
I mean, well, emphasis on healthy. Yeah. He definitely needs something healthy so that he can stay in a good place, especially being out and among the public. Yeah. After, committing a really horrific fucking crime.
Like keeping a positive energy. Yeah. He'd be able to keep like if he had someone who was kind of an anchor in positive energy for him, that would be great. Even if it wasn't a marriage, even if it was just someone he was really committed to.
Just like a good
BFF
circle.
Or somebody who's really...
Yeah. A positive circle of friends and people. Support.
Yeah, like and it had to be something that he was really committed to, almost like a marriage.
So, okay. Interesting.
So that's... All of these things can really kind of get... like... kind of put you into another mindset of like other things that should go on rather than partying. And then with the aggression, you can really see some self-importance and some issues with like playing tricks on people and and like you said, that South Node thing and more playing tricks with people with Neptune on South Node, being like mean.
Don't be a bitch.
Just don't be mean.
Don't be an asshole. Mean people are shitty, but it sounds like there are a lot of really positive possibilities for Michael ALIG, and that there are a lot of
it's coming. Yeah,
he could really self-destruct really quickly at the same time.
He's definitely he can hit it. He's at a crossroads.
Yeah.
A lot of time he just doesn't pick the nice way to go.
I feel like I'm a lot like that too. Like I could easily go one direction or the other, and I've done that in my life where it's like if I make this decision, everything's gonna go to shit. But if I make this decision, things can go in a positive way. Sure. So I mean, I don't know. It's
sometimes it's just so easy to do what's more comfortable. That bad choice is just right there.
And just the looming overhanging of but this one lets me escape. This one makes me face stuff, and that's really I think Michael probably deals with that a lot. Especially he's got to have some trauma from doing committing that crime. The graphic things that even under a heavy dose of heroin.
I mean, I'm sure if you cut up a body, you're gonna remember what that felt like, smelled like, looked like.
Oh my god,
it's a lot.
It's a lot to think. Oh my god, I can't think about it.
And there's all these things tying into this darker side to him, really. Again, that south node with Neptune, it's actually forming a grand square. Which is a lot of stress.
Squares are super bad.
A lot of life challenge here, okay? It's with Pholus, which is more of causing yourself your own problems with these negative aspects. Its square is north node, too. So it's some pressure on your actual life path. He might have felt disconnected from his life path, or felt like it was too hard. It was really hard to overcome challenges to move forward with his life path, or just kind of felt like there was nowhere to go. And then it also hits his moon, so this is a very personal feeling to him. It's a very personal inner challenge, where he's causing himself his own problems. What am I even doing here?
Right.
So that kind of feeling is really prominent on here, creating a lot of stress. And then that Chiron Pisces conjunction is really stressful, like I mentioned earlier. And then a lot of that Neptune South Node can tie into drugs, and the Pisces stellium can tie into his addiction issues. I'm trying to just run through everything I wrote. I know I'm repeating
just a quick recap.
I know I'm repeating some things, but there's the new thing here just in a second. Sun and Mars, you got that mean thing going on with it's all this painting this picture of a darker background here. And then his Jupiter, which is expanding that Gemini energy in him, has squares to his Chiron placement in Pisces, and it's kind of like when he plays up that Gemini, fun loving, witty, blah 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 thing that he can do. It really causes more challenges for him as well, and really it can be painful in a way. It's not a healthy route to be taking, but it's really stressful and hard, because sometimes I think that Jupiter placement really serves him, because it has a lot of good aspects as well, but all of those are tied to more bad aspects, good, bad.
Man.
It's a lot. It's hard to explain without showing the chart, but it's so easy for him to get in his Gemini space, and then for it to tie in so well and make his moon feel good, and make his Pholus placement feel good. But then when he gets in those placements, it gets caught on the grand square loop, and then he's really stressed.
It's
then
it's causing
stress, and then you're really trying to pull yourself out of all these it's like going down the road. You find a good road to go down, and then you got a pothole, and it's and having that happen all the time, I don't know how to explain it. He
keeps hitting roadblocks.
A lot of crossroads. It's just really so easy for him to get caught back up in the difficulty of
and
his
that's
life.
really evident in the life he has lived so far, both before and after prison. So hopefully we hear some positive things about
Here we go.
what he's doing.
Here's the positive thing.
We got
there's
a positive. I didn't know.
I told you I'd save it. I'd save it for the
You
end.
really fucking did.
I know.
You saved it.
All right.
I'm excited.
Okay. That was a good little summary. Okay. And now, one thing that I thought was cool on this chart, and this will apply to actually a generation of people, so if we have any older people listening, people born between the years 1964 and 1967 all have this Uranus-Pluto conjunction.
Okay.
Which is, it's just that Uranus and Pluto move slow, so, this won't happen again until, next century.
Oh, so this is really fucking special then.
Yeah. It happened
years.
last time in the 1960s, and then the next time I read it's going to happen is in 2104.
Whoa.
So it's it's just when things happen so slowly, it really can change an impact of years worth of people.
Okay.
Like if you're born around when I'm born, between I think it's 1989 and 1994, then you have this Uranus-Neptune conjunction.
Damn it, I'm old.
You probably have something else. I'll have to look.
Let's look. I need planets to mean something special for me.
Maybe after we go over the rest of his, we can look. Okay.
Or not.
Or not.
Or forget about it forever. It's fine.
Okay. So we have, this is the generation of rebellion.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So you can kind of see this too in the time period.
Yeah, because that's the
once these people hit the age where they could actually impact things around them in their lives. Yeah, then it's this intense need for freedom and reform and they were born, when you think about the 60s too, when they were born, this is Woodstock and stuff.
Yes, a whole age of fucking free love and women's rights.
That's the energy they were born into.
Movement. That's so badass.
I know, right? And so then we're now all the people born with this energy are in their 20s, and they're maybe 30s. I don't know. They're really pushing this need, this feeling they have for freedom and being it's kind of they feel restrained or manipulated by people or society, and it brings up this agitation and defiance and rebellion.
I like it.
It's really cool. It can cause a lot of stress though in their lives.
That was the club
because
kids.
it is kind of a histrionic feeling.
That was literally the club kids.
Yeah.
Everything about it. That whole group of people were all probably around the same age. And it was when I think of RuPaul, I think of this too, always breaking barriers and always doing things in a huge way, but it has a meaningful impact and fucking don't let anything
they care
hold you
about
down.
Real stuff, but it makes their lives kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can fight this energy if you're born around this time, but at some point in your life, you're probably going to get into it in some area, just because it's part of who you are.
I like it.
And one thing that's in their relationships, whenever they're dating and seeing people, it can make a lot of passionate you might have a lot of passionate relationships, but also tumultuous relationships. Because it's all that.
Oh, I didn't talk about it much, but Michael and superstar DJ Kyoki,
a DJ
played by Fez, when I almost fucked all of that up earlier. Yeah, they had a really intense relationship. Really intense.
Yeah, I could totally see
really
that.
Tumultuous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And since he personally has his Chiron on top of Venus, love is going to be very stressful for him. So maybe with that commitment thing I mentioned earlier, it really maybe not have it be a relationship. Maybe have it be a friend that you really Okay. But the fun thing about this Uranus, another cool thing about this Uranus conjunct Pluto stuff, is that they have this ability to really turn their life around quickly through a personal transformation.
Oh wow, that's positive.
Yeah,
so
when you
positive.
Think of RuPaul.
Oh, all I want to do is think of RuPaul. Let's be honest. I talk about RuPaul
there's potential.
And Brittney Spears more than any two humans on this planet. Those are my two favorite people in pop culture and possibly the world. I don't know. My top two.
The top two. The best two.
The best two. Anyway.
But yeah, anyway, there's a lot of potential for him to really turn his life around with this aspect, specifically. And if he were... I'm moving to the next notes page.
You're so fierce today. I like it.
I don't know what I'm on. All right. I don't know what I'm on.
What am I on? You're high on pregnancy.
I'm high on pregnancy. I just woke up from a nap before this. It's great.
You're well rested.
Maybe I'm in dream world still a little bit.
I like it. It's good.
So yeah, his best shot at rehabilitation. He definitely needs to get some help to heal this trauma situation he's got going on. There's a lot of trauma in his life. And, maybe some aggression, maybe, handle some of that, like, urge to be kind of mean. But yeah, leaning into that Juno where he has, like, a commitment to anchor him in positivity would be great. And the thing is, with that Jupiter placement, it has all these... It's Jupiter's also about self-growth. It's an expanded part of yourself, and it's where you find self-growth. So if he's going to go through a period of self-growth, all the things that Jupiter aspects will come into play. Okay. Is what I'm getting at here. So the problem with that is all the things that it's aspecting are pretty much part of his grand square, which is like a lot of stress. So when it hits his moon, he's going to need to, instead of focusing on the struggle in his life, he's going to really need to find a way to express himself through that Leo energy, but in like a healthy, nice, positive way. Mm-hmm. And these are all the needs he's going to have to get fulfilled for him to stay in a positive space. Okay. And then he's going to need to find some calm, kind of homier situation for him to be himself in, with that Taurus North Node. But he's still going to want that, like, bougie, like, maybe a little more materialistic thing.
Okay. That doesn't ever go away if that's part of who you are, really. Mm-hmm. I mean...
Yeah, instead of focusing on the stressful part of that side to him. And then it hits his foe list, so he's really going to be having to focus. He has got all this energy that can really end up playing into him taking something too far and causing a problem for himself. Mm-hmm. Instead, he needs to take something healthy too far and really put that energy, it's an Aquarius, really put that energy into a good cause. Yeah. That would be really good for him if he could find like a good cause to really like...
To be an advocate.
Put all of that extra energy into.
Yeah, I could see him being a really strong advocate for whatever it is that he's like connected to. That would be really helpful for him. And then he should pick victims' rights for marginalized LGBT people.
He totally could. He totally could. A lot of Aquarius is kind of like the underdog thing, or like a lot of that couldn't show through like a marginalized group or like something that is a topic that's not taken as seriously. Like right now we have environmental issues. They're kind of like always the underdog of the...
They really are. They're always really minimized because like we don't want to look at it because it's too real and we are the ones directly impacting it and the ones that can actually make a difference.
Another rant!
Fucking make a difference, damn it! We're sustainable AF.
Oh my God. And with the South Node, you're always looking to really like take what you can that actually helps you from that past and use it to your advantage in your future, but not residing in your past. I mean, if you spend too much time in your past or in your typecast role, it's just
then you can't grow.
No, don't grow when you do that. He does have a positive aspect to Lilith. His Lilith placement is actually pretty nice, except it will remind him of like that party, like Pisces escapism vibe. As long as he can stay, he can find a healthy escape and really he can self-empower himself kind of through his past and through his need for escape. And maybe this like maybe even like a dreamy intuitive kind of thing he could do. I'm trying to think of a good example.
I mean, for me, it's dancing. Like,
like whatever he finds.
Well, it sounds like he likes art.
Spiritual in a way.
And apparently he made a song. So he likes art and music.
And that satisfies his need for performance.
Yes.
Yeah. And inner self-expression.
Oh my gosh, what if he's going to be on Broadway? Expression. I don't know if he can sing or not.
With a cause. A singer with a cause.
Singing with a cause.
Maybe he could do some martial arts to get that that aggression out.
Yeah, or some really aggressive. What is it called? Crumping.
Oh my God. Maybe he can find a sponsor that he's really committed to help him stay on the right headspace.
He definitely needs a life coach or a mentor or somebody.
Really, just so he can rewrite this toxic pattern.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's not. It's still going to be a part of him that that. Whenever you leave a toxic pattern, it's going to be part of you still, but like you're really not following that. Like you're trying to put your energy on the healthier pathways. If that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I hope he's doing that.
Yeah. That's what I got.
Oh my gosh. And that is Michael ALIG, the party monster, king of the club kids. Ooh. So, you guys, if you like that story, please give us a like, subscribe so you don't miss any of our episodes. Yeah. Check us out on social media, on the Instagram.
We got a Patreon.
We have a Patreon.
You can support us on Patreon. There's always equipment we can get for the podcast.
We actually need some right now. We need a longer cord for our microphone. We're saving up those Patreon dollars to be able to afford a better microphone.
To record.
We're still looking into how to expand to other platforms. So it is harder than we thought it was going to be. So working on that. Work in progress. Yep. Happy National Coming Out Day for anybody who is in the LGBTQ community. Hooray. Hooray. Always something to celebrate. Go watch Party Monster if you have not seen it. It is a delightful portrayal of this really sad story, but it's a fun movie. Visually, it's amazing. The acting is great. Can't say enough good things about that. And you guys...
This was a really interesting chart to look at.
It was. Thank you for your chart gifts. Thank you guys for being here. So stay awesome and love yourselves. And we'll see you next time for some creepy fucking episodes. Get ready.
Creepy season.
Creepy season. Bye.
Bye.